Hello, it's Concord Wind. Just got back from the gym not too long ago, and it's that time again, which is a random time every day. It's not consist. There's no consistent scheduling with this series, but it is that time. I don't know why I've got the phone in my hands. I gotta pray before I read. So, I mean, I guess I could have held it while I prayed. Yeah, tomorrow I get paid. So I'm going to be calling my mom in the morning to make sure the money was deposited into my account because sometimes it's not deposited when it should be. So I'm going to call and make sure it is there so I don't get a grocery cart full of groceries and not be able to pay for it. That would be really embarrassing. And then she's going to pick me up. We're going to go to the grocery store and to the tobacco store. We're actually going to go to the tobacco store first because I got a refill on vapes. Um, and then I'm gonna get some groceries, of course, obviously, duh. But speaking of vapes, some people watching this might say, "Hey, vaping is a sin." It's like smoking, and um, if vaping and smoking is a sin, then tell me what element of corrupt disposition does smoking and vaping represent? Right? There's not an element of corrupt disposition because, like, sin comes from corrupt dispositions. That's where sin comes from. Sin is a rebellion against God. It's not an addiction. Like, just because you're addicted to something that's maybe not very good for you doesn't necessarily mean you're rebelling against God. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Because I've thought a lot about it, and I've tried to quit smoking, vaping, dipping. I've tried different things. I've tried snus. I've tried herbal cigarettes. I've tried THC. I've tried all kinds of different things trying to quit. And I've quit several times, but I always go back to it because it's just, I get these cravings and it's really hard to fight back, you know. Uh, Especially because I've got a lot of time on my hands and I don't have much to do. So I can't stay busy and forget about those cravings. Like I have a lot of downtime where I'm just like I feel like I have to vape or whatever, and so you know it's really hard. But I don't think it's a sin because like I don't do it because I'm arrogant. I don't do it because I'm deceitful. I don't do it because of lust after like I don't do it because of chasing after women. I don't do it because I'm intransigent. I don't do it because I refuse dealing and pruning. I don't do it because I'm averse to the truth. I don't do it, for any of the reasons that sins come from. Sins come from corrupt dispositions, and vaping doesn't come from a corrupt disposition. I'm not saying you should start. I'm not saying it's good. It's not a good thing to do it, but it's not gonna like keep you from going to heaven or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's not anything like that. So it doesn't bear any weight on your salvation. And so like, like drugs and alcohol um, bear a little bit more weight because they impair cognitive function and they reduce intelligence. and they reduce one's ability to make decisions, short term and long term. They have these effects. Even if you quit, if you've done it for a long time, it doesn't mean you'll be able to regain your original intelligence. And vaping and smoking and stuff, like, doesn't really impair cognitive function. So, like, the thing about drugs and alcohol is that because it impairs cognitive function, it can um, impair your ability to understand God's words. It can hurt your ability to understand God's words. And understanding God's words is so important and so vital to salvation. So alcohol and drugs have more weight. Like, I don't do alcohol or drugs, and I don't really want to. I mean, sometimes I'm tempted by the THC. Like, last or no, actually, this earlier this month at the start of September, I got some THC to help me cope with the overdose of Benadryl. I took like 100 milligrams of Benadryl and I felt horrible, if you remember that video. And I got some THC to try to mellow me out and help me get through it. And it did help, but after that, I threw it away. I was like, I'm done with this. Like, it served its purpose. Like, I got my money's worth. Like, it was $20 or whatever. And it's like, I got $20 worth of use out of it, to help me get through the Benadryl high or whatever. So it was, I didn't regret the purchase and I didn't regret throwing it away. I was just done with it. I didn't want to, because it's like, it's so addictive, like, because the high, like, if you're able to get a good high off of it, which is really hard with Invega, you have to smoke a lot of it to get a good high off of it. But when you get a good high off of it, it's very addictive because you crave that high. So that's why I threw it out, because I was like, I don't want to get addicted to this because it could harm my brain and cause me to be less able to understand God's words. And I really enjoy my intelligence and I enjoy my ability to understand God's words. So I don't want to do anything to harm my ability to understand God's words, because that's important. And if you're deliberately doing something knowing that it causes you to understand God's words less and less, I mean, there is the argument that people could be ignorant. They don't realize it's causing brain damage, even though there's so much, like, PSAs and, just there's so much out there to warn people of the dangers of drugs and alcohol. But, you could say you're ignorant and, I don't know, like Jesus drank wine or whatever, and people could use that argument, but he wasn't an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like, he drank it on special occasions, which is fine. You can drink alcohol on special occasions. I don't, because I don't get anything from it, and it just causes stomach problems, causes me to throw up. But you can drink alcohol on special occasions as long as you don't have a problem with alcohol and you can handle only drinking it on special occasions and no other time. If you can do that, then that's fine. You know, Moderation is key, and like THC, THC is another one of those special occasion things. But like, once you start getting into drugs that are super addictive, like meth and cocaine and crack and heroin, all those like opioids, like heroin and stuff, like those really addictive stuff. And alcohol is pretty addictive too. But alcohol, if you can control yourself with alcohol, it's okay. But those other drugs, like, are so addictive. It's not worth risking getting sucked into an addiction, because you may think you can do it on special occasions, but um, it could keep pulling you, and you go through a hard time. Your parents might die or or your dog might die, and the next thing you know, you're relying on this drug that you've done before, and so it's better not to start, But anyways, let's get into this because it's already been 10 minutes, and I've just been talking about like substance use and so. Dear Almighty God, thank you so much for my intelligence that you gave me. I'm so thankful I'm intelligent enough to understand your words because there's people who don't have the intelligence to understand your words, and I'm not sure how you treat them. I'm sure you treat them with some level of mercy, but I'm sure that they did something to cause the lack of intelligence. Even if they're born that way, it could have been something they did in a previous life. The point is that I know you're never to blame. I'm always on your side, God, and I'll always be on your side. I'll always justify your actions in my mind and in my heart. And I know that you never mean to do any wrong. And you discipline people according to their actual actions and their actual mentality and where their heart is. And you treat people righteously. You're righteous towards every person. I know that, God, and I believe that with all my heart. It's one of the things I love so much about you. So thank you so much for being who you are. And may you enlighten us to today's word. Amen. Amen. Now I'm looking at your indulgent flesh that would wheedle me, and I only have a small warning for you, though I will not serve you with chastisement. You should know what role you play in my work, and then I will be satisfied. In matters beyond this, if you resist me or spend my money, or eat the sacrifices for me, Jehovah, or if you maggots bite each other, or if you dog like creatures have conflicts or violate one another, I am not concerned with any of that. You need only know what sort of things you are, and I will be satisfied. Aside from all of this, if you wish to draw weapons on each other or battle each other with words, that is fine. I have no desire to meddle in such things, and am not the least bit involved in human matters. It is not that I do not care about conflicts between you, it is that I am not one of you, and therefore do not participate in matters that lie between you. I myself am not a created being and not of the world, so I loathe the bustling life of people and the messy, improper relationships between them. I particularly loathe the clamorous crowds. However, I have a profound knowledge of the impurities in the heart of each created being. And before I created you, I already knew of the unrighteousness that existed deep in the human heart, and I knew all the deception and crookedness in the human heart. Therefore, even though there are no traces at all when people do unrighteous things, I still know that the unrighteousness harbored within your heart surpasses the richness of all things that I created. Every one of you has risen to the pinnacle of the multitudes. You have ascended to be the ancestors of the masses. You are extremely arbitrary, and you run amok among all the maggots, seeking a place of ease and attempting to devour the maggots that are smaller than you. You are malicious and sinister in your hearts, surpassing even the ghosts that have sunk to the bottom of the sea. You reside in the bottom of the dung, disturbing the maggots from top to bottom until they have no peace, fighting each other for a while and then calming down. You do not know your place, yet still you battle with each other in the dung. What can you gain from such struggle? If you truly had reverence for me in your hearts, how could you fight with each other behind my back? No matter how high your status, are you not still a stinking little worm in the dung? Will you be able to sprout wings and become a dove in the sky? You stinking little worms, still offerings from the altar of me, Jehovah. In doing so, can you rescue your ruined, failed reputation and become the chosen people of Israel? You are shameless wretches. Those sacrifices on the altar were offered up to me by my people as an expression of benevolent feelings from those who revere me. They are from my control and from my use, so how can you possibly rob me of the little turtle doves people have given me? Do you not fear becoming a Judas? Are you not afraid that your land might become a field of blood? You shameless thing, do you think that the turtle doves offered up by people are to nourish the belly of you, maggot? What I have given you is what I am content and willing to give you. What I have not given you is at my disposal. You may not simply steal my offerings. The one who works is me, Jehovah, the Lord of creation, and people offer sacrifices because of me. Do you think this is recompense for all the running about you do? You really are shameless. What do you run about for? Is it not for yourself? Why do you steal my sacrifices? Why do you steal money from my money bag? Are you not the son of Judas Iscariot? The sacrifices to me, Jehovah, are to be enjoyed by priests. Are you a priest? You dare to smugly eat my sacrifices and even lay them out on the table. You are worth nothing. You worthless wretch. My fire, the fire of Jehovah, will incinerate you. Oh man, I love God so much. He uses these words to scare you and make you realize who you are so that you're able to change. That's the point of these words. It's to instill fear in you, and to make you think, wow, like I really don't need to do this anymore because retribution could come upon me at any time. It's to put that fear of God in your heart. We should have a healthy fear of God in our hearts. And that fear is not, nameless fright or terror, but is love, admiration, and respect. And when you respect God and you don't want to disobey him, you accept his words. And there's also the other aspect of fearing God, which is, to fear his punishment, to fear retribution. You can fear those things, and but the most important thing is that you respect God. You love and respect God. Because when you love and respect God, you treat him as God. And so you obey him and you don't do things behind his back. You are a good person to God's face and you're a good person behind God's back. That's how you develop through this series and through pretty like 85% of the videos on my channel basically, are guiding us in the direction of being good people. That's what we want. We want to be good people that serve God and make him happy. We want to satisfy God. We want to do everything we can for God. It's really important. So make sure you're practicing love for God and respect for God in all that you do. Amen. God bless, and you'll see me tomorrow. Bye bye.